And welcome everybody to another edition of Tobs Talk. I'm Jake Donnelly, and Tobs Talk is presented by Thomas & Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. Well, the Tobs sit at now 17-17 on the season. They are 2-4 in the second half of the CPL summer. The Tobs are at 500 because they have now lost 3 in a row to the Morehead City Marlins, the team that they played in last night's game, a 6-5 loss. The Tobs are down 5-1 until the bottom of the 5th inning, when they were able to scratch across 1 run on a Drew Cole RBI single. In the bottom of the 6th inning, it was 5-2, and the Tobs would score 3 runs, really starting things going with a Seth LaRue double into the right center field gap, giving LaRue now 4 doubles on the season. The All-Star for the Tobs, one of 4 All-Stars, really started the rally. The Tobs would score 3 runs, tying the game up at 5-5. It remained 5-5 until the top of the 7th inning, when head coach of the Tobs, Justin Hay, called on Braden Bristow to try to calm things down and really put the Tobs in a good position. However, Bristow ran into some bad luck. The leadoff batter blooped one down into left center field just beyond the reach of Matt Rembielak. The next batter bunted down the first baseline. Matt Rembielak kind of rushed the throw. It went down as a hit, but the throw was over the head of Seth LaRue, putting guys on first and second. A fielder's choice would erase a guy at third base, leaving guys on first and second with 1 out. It would actually end up being bases loaded with 1 out for Manny Pazos, the catcher for the Morehead City Marlins, who had already driven in 1 run on the night, and he would hit a sacrifice fly on an 0-2 slider, which hung just a little bit. He hit it out towards center field. Drew Cole's only play was over towards third base, and the Marlins took a 6-5 lead. The Tobs, though, they didn't go quietly. They ended up getting guys on second and third in the bottom of the 8th inning with 2 outs for Zach Callahan. In other words, the Tobs had the tying run at third base and the go-ahead run at second with Zach Callahan, who has come up with a ton of clutch hits for the Tobs since rejoining the team about a week and a half ago. However, Callahan quickly went down in the count 0-2. He swung at an elevated fastball, and he flew out to right field to end the threat. John Allen would come out for the top of the 9th inning for the Tobs and recorded the first 1-2-3 inning of the night. But then Matt Tyndall, the man who pitched the 8th inning for the Morehead City Marlins, came out in the bottom of the 9th inning and recorded the second 1-2-3 inning of the evening, getting a 6-out save, his first save of the season. Braden Bristow took the loss. Whitman Barnes got the win for the Morehead City Marlins. He moves to 1-0 on the season. That was Tyndall's first save. As I mentioned, Braden Bristow, the tough luck loser. He's now 1-4 with his last 2 losses coming against the Morehead City Marlins, despite pitching beautifully in the 1 start, striking out 10. And then last night, he was fairly unhittable. Not a single ball was hit all that hard, but somehow he ended up giving up a run, and it ended up being the crucial run in the game. I mentioned Zach Callahan stranded guys on second and third in the bottom of the 8th inning, while the Tobs as a team stranded 9 runners in last night's game in that 6-5 loss. Really, head coach of the Tobs, Justin Hay, not very happy with the way the team has been playing over the last couple of games, but there have been some bright spots, including Matt Rembielak, who picked up 3 hits in last night's game, including a couple of highlight reel diving stops out there at shortstop. We will have Matt Rembielak as well as head coach on the Tobs right here on this edition of Tobs Talk. All that and more when we come back on Tobs Talk, presented by Thomas & Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. And welcome back, everybody, to this edition of Tobs Talk. I'm Jake Donnelly. Tobs Talk is presented by Thomas & Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. Joining me right now is head coach of the Tobs, Justin Hay. And Justin, last night was a tough game, a 6-5 loss against the Morehead City Marlins, but there were some bright spots, especially Matt Rembielak. Now, he'd been batting about 100, just a little bit above that for most of the season, but the last 3 or 4 games, he's really looked comfortable at the plate. What is it that you see from him that has really started this turnaround?
Well, his timing is really back on key nowadays, but it really started with him coming in early, hitting. For the last 2-3 weeks, we've noticed that as a coaching staff that he's been there putting in the work to get better. And Matt swings it pretty well. He just was a little rusty coming in and had a little adversity early, but instead of folding up camp and packing it in, he put in the work and battled and is starting to look a lot more comfortable at the plate, so that's something that we're excited to see.
And he's a pretty good batter, makes a lot of contact. Last night in his first at-bat, you tried to go with the hit and run, and initially it didn't look like it was going to work out as the hit was right back up the middle, and the second baseman Lombardi was able to get to the ball, but a good slide by Matt Rembielak dislodged it, so it ended up being a successful hit and run. But we've seen you try that with Matt and a couple of other guys in the bottom of the lineup a couple of times. What is your thinking when it comes to situations like that?
Well, with Matt last night, he's had some confidence, and I thought he was getting a fastball. I wanted to give him a chance. He's a really good ground ball hitter. I wanted to give him a chance to do something big, positive, get a little confidence, put some people in motion. He's a very good ground ball hitter. Usually makes contact, so I thought it was a good time, to put that on, and he did a good job getting the ball on the ground, and I think hopefully that it led to a couple more hits later in the game.
And he picked up 3 hits in total in last night's game, but he also made a couple of very nice plays in the field in the top of the 5th inning with a runner on second base and 1 out, a ground ball up the middle, and he makes a diving stop right behind second base. Now, he wasn't able to make the play on that particular play for an out, but it put guys on first and third with 1 out. And then the next batter, Manny Pazos, swings at the first pitch. It looks like it's going to be an RBI single right up the middle. But he makes a terrific play, starting a 6-4-3 double play. Glove to bare hand to Callahan onto first. Maybe the nicest defensive play of the season for the Tobs. Do you think it's one of those situations where a fielder makes that nice play and then it really gives him confidence at the plate?
Oh, for sure. You definitely can see when somebody does something positive in one aspect of their game that carry over to other aspects. So we think that with Matt, his defense carried him last night a little bit, kind of gave him some confidence his next at bat, but it could have been the other way around too because he's starting to swing a little bit better. But Matt's always been a really good defensive player, and that's something he brings to the park every day. So usually it is the defense leading to the positive thoughts in the batter's box for him.
And unfortunately for the Tobs now, it seems like you've had to go to the bullpen quite often as of late. What is your thinking when you see a starting pitcher who is unable to go more than 3 or 4 innings? How do you try to game plan that the rest of the way?
Well, you just look to your bullpen and tell them, hey, we're going to have to get through this. Everybody's going to have to throw a little bit. We can't burn one person, so that leads us to having to go 2 to 3 different guys for a couple innings apiece like we did last night. And our bullpen's been pretty good at that all year.
Now, after this next break, we're going to have Dr. Todd Smith from Wilson Ortho joining us. You were talking with the doctor before we got on air here and talking about how pitchers and younger pitchers especially should really stay away from certain things. What would you say is the one thing younger pitchers should concentrate on?
Well, I think they should really concentrate on learning the fastball command and a changeup and learn to pitch for that. It'll be more effective later in life and also doesn't hinder the growth of the arm as much. So, we want our younger guys to really learn to throw the fastball changeup because if you learn to throw a changeup early, it'll really benefit you later and also a lot less stress on the arm.
And you're a guy that pitched 4 years in college. You're talking about fastball changeup. When's the first time you really started to throw a curveball?
I wasn't allowed to throw a curveball until I was 14 or 15, and then that was very sparingly. Still can only throw it so many times a game because as my dad told me, you can be the best pitcher in Little League right now, or we can focus on being the best pitcher in high school and college, and that's what he wanted to do, and I didn't understand it at the time. I wanted to throw a curveball just like all my friends were doing. Looking back at it now, I'm glad he did.
And being a good baseball player in college, probably a little bit more fun than being the best Little League player, huh?
Well, I don't know that I was ever a good baseball player in college, but I did play in college. So, but yes, it was a lot of fun to get to play in college.
All right. Well, Justin, thank you for coming in here this morning. When we come back on Tobs Talk, we'll have Dr. Todd Smith from Wilson Ortho. Tobs Talk is presented by Thomas and Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. And welcome back, everybody, to Tobs Talk. I'm Jake Donnelly, and Tobs Talk is presented by Thomas and Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. Tonight's game is sponsored by Wilson Ortho. Another Thirsty Thursday, and the first 500 fans through the gates receive a free team photo. And with me right now from Wilson Ortho is Dr. Todd Smith, who's an orthopedic surgeon. And I really appreciate you coming in. I know you've got a very busy day lined up, so I appreciate that. Talk a little bit about your specialty and what is it exactly that you do with Wilson Ortho?
Well, my specialty is sports medicine, so I focus on the shoulder and the knee mainly. So we see a lot of Tobs guys and a lot of other athletes in town. So that's my area that I really try to focus on, is the shoulder and the knee.
And we were talking before about the types of injuries that younger players get and also older people get. What's the most prevalent type of injury you see?
Depends on what season it is. Like we were talking about earlier, football season, knee injuries are huge. Baseball season, later on in the year, we end up with a lot of elbow problems, a lot of shoulder problems, cartilage problems in the shoulder. As we get older, we tend to get more rotator cuff troubles. Everybody hears shoulder problems and they think rotator cuff, but that's usually more of the 30, 40, 50-year-old guys. And then the younger folks, it's usually cartilage problems that we see in the shoulder.
And now for anybody that's getting a little bit older, is there anything that they can do to try to ward off that and not have to go visit you at Wilson Ortho?
Right, staying out of my office is usually a good thing if you can do it. Trying to stay active, one of the biggest troubles we run into is when we finish high school, we finish college, we stop working out as much, we stop doing as much, and then when we try to do it just on the weekends, that actually puts more stress on the shoulder and other things. So it's better to stay active and keep in a general routine more days than not, as opposed to just doing it on the weekends. Obviously keeping our weight down and all that kind of stuff, and general strengthening program with not high weights, but focusing mainly on repetitions and low weight.
And that's always a good way just to keep the blood flowing, make sure that the body is working. Now, if somebody feels any pain or anything like that, what would you suggest they do, whether it be knees or shoulders?
Well, most of the time at the beginning, it's common sense stuff. It's a little bit of rest, backing off the activity that bothers you, ice, the Advil type things, as long as they don't bother your stomach. I tell folks that, if something hurts while you're doing it, it's just like my dad used to say, well, then don't do that. But then if it lingers, if it's longer than a few days and it's just not turning around, then you ought to have it checked just to be sure you're not making anything worse or creating some more damage.
Okay, so common sense stuff, that's not good for me. That's really not my specialty. Talking about tonight's game, which is against the Edenton Steamers, but it's a 7:05 start for the Tobs. Gates open at 6 o'clock. I mentioned first 500 fans through the gates get a free team photo. You growing up were a basketball player as well as a baseball player. What was your favorite sport between the two?
Well, when I was younger, it was definitely baseball. My grandfather was a big baseball guy. As I got a little older and being a North Carolina guy, I was a little more into the basketball, and that's what led to all of my injuries and all of my surgeries, so maybe I should have stuck with baseball. But yeah, it was really both of them neck and neck, but as I got older, I was definitely better at basketball than I was at baseball.
That's pretty good, especially being the Tar Heel State.
Yep.
It's a little bit more fun to be a better basketball player than baseball.
It's been a little tough lately with all of the stuff going on in the news, but yeah, it's definitely good.
Yeah, we're not going to mention Rashad McCants and all the stuff that he has brought into the news as of late, but I have to ask you one more question. What got you into medicine in the first place?
Well, it probably was being involved in sports and growing up and being around sports and having the injuries and then the surgeries and the rehab and the things like that I ended up having. I ended up in college working for the surgeon that had done all of my stuff, and that kind of got me even further interested in it. And then it just kind of led from there, and when I went to medical school, I just gravitated toward orthopedics and then even more gravitated toward sports medicine. So it's a way to kind of stay young and stay involved.
All right, well, Dr. Smith, thank you so much for coming in this morning. Remember, folks, tonight's game, a Thirsty Thursday promotion, which I'm sure if it's not raining tonight, that the good doctor here will make his way over to Fleming Stadium. First 500 fans through the gate get a free Tobs team photo. All that and more coming up on Tobs Talk right here on Greenlight Channel 2, presented by Thomas & Ferris. Welcome back, everybody, to this edition of Tobs Talk. I'm Jake Donnelly, and Tobs Talk is presented by Thomas & Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. Joining me right now is the infielder and shortstop for the Tobs, Matt Rembielak. Rem, you've done a pretty good job the last couple of games. What has made you feel a little bit more comfortable, and why are you producing all of a sudden?
Ever since I got here, I started coming in early, working in the cages and get my swings in. Working off the tee, working with Coach Billings. When I came in, my problem was I usually leak out on my front foot, and me and Coach Billings have been talking every day and trying to fix that problem. So the more I work with him and prepare for games, I feel more comfortable at the plate. So now that the work is starting to pay off, that I'm more comfortable at the plate now, and I just feel a lot better. Me and Coach Billings still, throughout the game, are still talking about what's going on at the plate with my swing.
Now, I know you had to deal with a little bit of a hamstring issue, I believe, earlier in the season. How did that affect you, and how did that affect your timing?
Actually, my hamstring started when I was first started at school ball. It was like the second day of spring practice. I pulled my left hammy, and then like 2 weeks into the season, I pulled my right one. And then from there on out, every now and then I'll tweak something, and it just so happened I did it again this summer. I talked to my trainer at school, and he just said just having like it just produces like weak legs. You're not used to having weak legs because we lift all the time, and it's just weird. And so like I always tend to drift more. So just having like weak legs under you can't really do much with them. It's just when you have it all year, it just gets annoying after a while, and you kind of just want to just blow it off half the time.
As that feeling of never being 100% really bothers you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's really annoying.
Well, I'm sorry you had to deal with that, first left, then the right. Actually, I tore a hamstring in college. They made me sit on a chair and pull one leg forward up a hill. What's the weirdest thing that you had to do trying to recover from that hamstring injury? The stim, maybe, or something else?
I don't like doing what's weird is like doing hamstring curls. I like pull my leg up to my butt, and then when I try and pull down, I get like resistance or whatever. I just feel like my hammy's gonna pull every single time I do that. Mm-hmm. That's just awkward. I don't like that.
Yeah, so at least you're feeling a little bit better. And last night you had a terrific game. 3 hits at the plate, and then 2 highlight reel stops in the field, including starting a 6-4-3 double play where you made the diving stop, flipped with your glove to Zach Callahan, who was covering at second. He barehanded it and threw it onto first base. On a play like that, is anything going through your mind when the ball is hit, or just take us through that play?
When I saw the ball up the middle, I just run after it, and if I think I can dive or make an attempt at it, I'd just go after it. And the glove flip was just a reaction because it was quicker to do it that way, and I don't know, it's just a reaction play, I guess. Whatever, I don't really think when I'm out on the field. I just do whatever the ball's telling me to do, I guess.
And did a terrific job with that play. Really seemed to turn around the game for the Tobs, as the Tobs were down 5-1 at that point, scored the next 4 runs in the game, although the Tobs ended up losing the game 6-5. Now I have to ask you one question. You brought up the spring ball and playing school ball at the University of Akron. You're a Zip, and you actually play for your father. How is that, playing for your dad at the University of Akron?
My freshman year, it was kind of rough because we weren't really used to being father-son, but the past 2 years, it's been a lot better. We've been able to talk more without fighting or bickering with each other, so it's going good, and hopefully my senior year, will be even better, and hopefully there's no other issues.
Now, does your mom have to get in the middle of you two at any point, or who's the mediator?
My mom she's always there just to give me a hug after my dad always has to say something. No matter if I go back and have family dinners or stuff like that, his mom's always there just to show me the love.
Hey, if moms aren't there for that, what are they there for, right?
I know, exactly.
All right, Rem, well, thank you for coming in this morning. Hopefully you can get some rest and rest up those hamstrings later.
That sounds good.
All right, folks, when we come back on this edition of Tobs Talk, we'll wrap things up. Tobs Talk is presented by Thomas & Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. And welcome back, everybody, to this edition of Tobs Talk. I'm Jake Donnelly, and Tobs Talk is presented by Thomas & Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. Well, I'd like to thank everybody that came in this morning. Head coach of the Tobs, Justin Hay, as well as shortstop for the Tobs, Matt Rembielak. And of course, I'd like to extend a special thanks to Dr. Todd Smith from Wilson Ortho, a division of Triangle Ortho, for coming in this morning. And he was really, really in a rush. In fact, he had to be in the OR at 10:30, and we got the interview done at about 10:18 or so. So really, thank you very much to Dr. Todd Smith from Wilson Ortho for coming in this morning. Wilson Ortho is our presenting sponsor for tonight's game, a Thirsty Thursday promotion where fans can receive soft drinks for just $1 as well as beer specials for, yes, just $1 whole. So folks, if you've got 4 quarters, 1 George Washington, come on into Fleming Stadium. The gates open at 6 o'clock. First pitch is scheduled for 7:05 against the Edenton Steamers. The first 500 fans through the gates will receive a free team photo courtesy of Wilson Ortho. So fans, thank you so much for tuning in to this edition of Tobs Talk. I'm Jake Donnelly saying hopefully we'll see you at Fleming.